Hey everyone, Ryan Young, KAATARO Jiu-Jitsu. Hope you're doing well. Let's do a part 2 on can the average person attain a black belt in Jiu-Jitsu. And part of it was just being a little tongue-in-cheek about it. Just yeah, sure. Go and buy yourself a belt. Then that's what you wear, right? But if you want to earn it, then I guess there's 2 ways to earn it. One is you earn it through time, and one is you earn it through skill. In some schools, they let you earn it through time, meaning check off the box, and every time you come in, punch your card, and eventually you'll get it. Now, there's a rationale for that. I remember years ago when I trained under Grandmaster Helson Gracie, Professor Helson at the time. He said if you come to my class, and he would give you the class numbers so many times, X numbers, whatever. He goes, you will be a blue belt. Part of it is that, when he was teaching, he had a plan for everybody, and he was just very much into drilling the basics and didn't really get into a lot of the stuff that people get into today that would take away from your ability to do the basics. So I guess in that way, perhaps, right? People were good that trained under him, so it's kind of hard to argue with that. And I think Grandmaster Horan was the same way. But at the end of the day, I've found that when you learn something, when you learn in a disciplined manner, then you can actually get there faster. But with regard to can anybody do it, let's actually look at a note here. So the Dark Warrior actually put a comment in, says, I disagree on one thing. I think anyone who has a deep desire and deep motivation to earn a black belt can do it. Anyone. It's all about the willingness to do what's necessary to get there. And believe me, I have the determination and desire. Though it's not really the belt that I want, but rather the skill level and real life benefits associated with it and beyond. I know I will have to work hard for it, but I love Jiu-Jitsu, so much so that not only am I okay with it, I actually enjoy the challenge. Now that last part really was the key. It's enjoying it. Because if you don't enjoy it, why are you going to do it? Just so you can get the belt, right? I'm thinking there has to be a group of people, not a group, but people around all over the world who do Jiu-Jitsu because their dream is to have a black belt in Jiu-Jitsu. And they like to earn it, of course. Nobody wants to be given it, right? There's no pride in that, being given the belt. But at the same time, there are people that are given the belt. Just like you hear about people are given the coral belt or the red belt. I can't remember what it was. It was one of those belts. And it was kind of honorary, right? It's for their contribution to Gracie Jiu-Jitsu or to Jiu-Jitsu in general. I don't know what it was. I don't know who did it. All I remember hearing is that somebody who wasn't even a black belt, or basically they bought that belt, right? It was just, a lifetime achievement award kind of thing, but it wasn't through training and building the art through teaching, which is the original criteria for the professor ranking and the stripes on the black belt after that, and then the coral and the red, right? So, okay, can anyone, based on this person's comment, can anyone who wants to do what they're willing to do to get it, are they willing to do everything, can they earn it? The answer is still no. Anyone, right? Anyone. That's like saying impossible, right? Is anything impossible? No. Nothing is impossible. But anyone cannot do it. I've used that whole basketball analogy, so let's use a different one. Anyone ever hear of Mensa? Okay, so Mensa is that group of people who I think you need to have 185 IQ just to get in. And I don't know what they do because I don't have that kind of IQ. But if you don't have that IQ, you can't get in. Now with IQ, you can't try to have a high IQ. You either do or you don't. Now, of course, I think they did that study with twins as well. I think Australia had some study where they monitored twins and twins that were separated at birth. That's what it was. And they were raised in very different environments, and what they found was that the twins, even though one might have grown up rich, one might have grown up poor, one might have grown up in Australia, one might have grown up in the UK, I think they had examples of these too, they had similar IQs, because it's not a nurture, it's a nature thing, that you're either born with a high IQ or you're not. And I know IQ is a very controversial subject. It really shouldn't be, but it is. I mean, you know, saying that IQ is able to be passed down, right? Height is able to be passed down. Eye color is passed down. Hair color is passed down. Skin color is passed down, but IQ is not. I don't know. Does that make any sense? Anyway, so where I'm going with that is this. If it takes a certain level of ability, right? And Jiu-Jitsu is both left brain, it's right brain, and it's physical. If you start off at a late age, as an example, right? Everybody say, oh yeah, he's good at it because he's been doing it since he's a kid, right? You've said that before. I know I've said it before, and I've seen it before. Tiger Woods was as good as he was at golf. Why? Because his father had him start as soon as he could stand, right? A lot of Gracie family members, why are they good at Jiu-Jitsu? Because they've been doing it ever since they could stand, right? Since they're tiny. Any person who grows up in Jiu-Jitsu can be good, but you can only get so good up to your ceiling. We all have our ceiling. And the black belt in any martial art, not only Jiu-Jitsu, the black belt is meant to be for the top X%. It's not for the 100%, it's for the X%. And that X% could be top 1%, top 2%, top 10%, I don't know. So by saying that anyone can do it, they just have to do what it takes. It's not always do what it takes. You have to have the physical gifts as well. So let's kind of put it in another perspective. Let's say you want to be the greatest soccer player of all time. I don't know who that is, by the way. I'm not into soccer. But there can only be one greatest. Okay, well, let's say I want to be in the top 10. There can only be 10. But of course, you know, there is a mental aspect to it. Michael Jordan. I believe Michael Jordan is the best basketball player of all time. Even though Wilt Chamberlain scored more points, well, so did Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, I think. You know, I don't know. In a game, right? Or Bill Russell won more championships, right? But that stuff is contingent on the fact that you have the ability to play basketball at a high level. Now, the mind does play a part into it, but you need to have the minimum physical characteristics, no matter how much you want it, no matter how hard you try. Muggsy Bogues, in my mind, could never be among that list of the greatest basketball players of all time, even though he was good. Why? Because he's like, what, 5'4"? He just doesn't have that certain thing to be able to get there. Now, you know, having created one black belt, for me, myself, I know what it takes to create a black belt, You know, 30 black belts, I guess I need 30 instructors or a bunch of instructors teaching that will let me take credit for all their work. I don't know why I thought that was so funny, but you know, I always laugh when you hear about people saying, you know, I created 130 black belts. There's no way. You know, no matter how much I want to, and how much I'm motivated to, and how much I'm driven to, I don't know if there's enough years in my life to be able to create 130 black belts. At least black belts that are any good, right? Without a shit ton of help. So that comment makes sense, and realistically speaking, you know, you should, as I should, as any of us should, be able to do whatever we want to do if we want it badly enough. Okay? Here's another person, another comment in the same video. Just keep rolling. The average person becomes extraordinary. I don't know if that's true either. And the reason is because, and I've said it before, rolling doesn't make you better. Drilling makes you better. It's the practice that makes you better. For instance, since we're here on Jiu-Jitsu, and a lot of us like the UFC, let's kind of talk about UFC fighters. Does fighting in the UFC make them better UFC fighters? I say no. I say it's all their time in the gym, doing all the prep work, managing their diet, doing their boxing, doing their wrestling, doing their takedowns, doing their gym time. That all makes them a better fighter, better UFC fighter. Not the time necessarily in the ring sparring, right? Where they're just sparring, as if it's a fight. They could do 100 fights. Let's say they do 100 fights over the course of 90 days, right? So there may be a couple days where they have 2 fights. Is that going to make them better? Or could you have a guy who focuses his training, specifically focuses his training over those 90 days and only does 1 fight? I would contend the guy who trained and focused his efforts on various drills and various disciplines and various aspects of a fight, I would contend he would actually beat the other guy who fought 100 fights. So now, if you just roll more, does that make you better? No. It's a drilling, right? For instance, you have a shitty mount. Can't hold mount for shit. And does rolling make your mount better? Not if you're always under guard or in guard, not if you're always under mount, not if you're always under cross-side. When do you ever get the chance to mount? You don't. But if you go ahead and drill mount over and over and over and over again, you will get better at it. And you drill it hard with various people, right? You have people that are smaller than you, bigger than you, taller than you, lighter than you, shorter than you, whatever, younger than you, older than you, right? When you trained how to hold a mount 500 times, whereas you could roll, over the course of a year, you might get under mount maybe 100 times. What will make you better at holding mount? Drilling it 500 times, doing all the different scenarios for it, or rolling for an entire year and maybe getting to mount 100 times, right? I know there's still going to be some of you say, oh, rolling makes you better. Rolling is something you need to do. Rolling is like a game, right? We spend more time practicing for the game than we do playing the game, right? It's the practice that makes you better. It's not the game that makes you better. But anyway, so if you made it this far in the video, please go ahead and like and subscribe to, like the video and subscribe to our channel so you can actually get notice of when we have a new video come out. We're trying to put out 1 to 2 videos per week for you. It just comes down to the amount of time that we have to create these videos for you, because it does take a lot of time and effort to create them. But also sometimes we just don't have an idea that we think we think you'd like. But that's very rare. Another thing too is come visit us online at KAATARO.com, where you can see Dave Kama's videos on all the things that we do, the self-defense, the Hicks and Gracie self-defense, the ladder, all that kind of stuff that'll take your game up for sure. And also come visit us at our academies. We have Kama Jiu-Jitsu in Flower Mound, Texas, which is Dallas-Fort Worth. We have Kama Jiu-Jitsu in Austin, Texas, and we have Kama Jiu-Jitsu in Irvine, California. Like I said, come visit us at the website. We'll see you soon. Take care. Happy training. Bye now.